Why are you so angry all the time? Break free from your inner demons. You have some resentment building up and you have never worked it out. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about why you're so angry all the time. Now, not everybody's angry all the time, but if you are, then this is a great video for you to watch. Because anger is not a healthy emotion. And if you are angry all the time, it's because you have trauma. You have resentment over something. You feel wronged in some way. You feel betrayed, let down, double-crossed. Somebody hurt you in your past, and you haven't been able to let it go. Now, I come from this. I walked around most of my life with a huge chip on my shoulder because I was abused when I was 4 and 5 years old. I don't want to get into it. But I never got resolution until recently, actually. And the anger came from wanting justice. Anger is really the desire to take action. In fact, anger can be a healthy emotion with regard to taking action. It often precedes action. But if it doesn't, if you don't ever take action, and you're just thinking all these negative thoughts, all these hateful thoughts, all these bitter thoughts, it's because something is not resolved within you. And you haven't resolved an emotion, you haven't processed the emotion. The anger usually is directed at someone or some circumstance. And when you're not clear about it, because you don't have an understanding of why and what happened, why did it happen, and what exactly happened, you're looking for resolution. Now, I've done a lot of healing therapies on myself. I got a degree in psychology, went to psychotherapy myself, went to a shaman, lived in a yoga center, and did life coaching programs like Landmark Forum. And I found I was still resentful. I would get triggered and have this deep anger, this deep resentment. And I knew this resentment is not healthy. And I did a hypnotic regression. This is how I found out about the abuse that I went under. And once I processed the emotions of that abuse, I was able to clear it. I forgave my abusers because I know they were just programmed. And I realized holding on to this resentment, I'm just drinking a poison made for another. I was doing myself no good, walking around with a chip on my shoulder, being ultra aggressive, wickedly angry, and wanting to fight anyone and anything at any moment in time. Some of you may relate to this. In fact, you may drink to suppress the anger because underneath anger, there is usually a deep sense of sadness and grief. And when you come to terms with that grief, the anger dissolves because it's how you really feel about the circumstance. You were betrayed. You were wronged. You were harmed. Yet there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know what happened in your life. But I know that anger usually comes with feeling wronged in some way, shape, or form, and you want to make it right. You want justice. Only you're not getting justice. Even after the justice is gone, you're still angry. You're still upset. You just can't let it go. Carrying around that hate, that bitterness, will eat you up inside. It'll eat away your heart. And if you never allow yourself to grieve, you'll never learn to let go. Letting go and grieving come hand in hand. When you're able to grieve, you can let go, you can forgive. You can find that peace and joy within you. It's possible. But it's very hard to experience if you're angry all the time, if you're resentful. You could hear it in people's voices, a sense of irritation, irritability, and a sense of upsetness. They're upset. You're upset. What are you upset about? Write it down. Grab a pen and paper and write down why you're mad, why you're angry. What is it exactly that upset you? Who wronged you? Who betrayed you? What did they do to you? What happened? Write it down and look at it very carefully and ask yourself, what was your participation in it? Now, I know this is a little hard to grasp because if you were beaten up, you were raped, or you were ripped off and robbed, whatever the circumstance is, how could you be responsible for it? You're the victim. See, underneath anger is victimhood. You're angry about being a victim. There is a real strong victim consciousness underneath the anger. That means you, at a certain point, you felt helpless, hopeless, and powerless. And instead of dealing with the hopelessness, the powerlessness, and the helplessness, feeling that other vulnerability, you get angry. That's where anger comes from. You've got to make peace with yourself before you can make peace with another. You've got to know you've done all that you can, all that you could. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you need to talk to that person who wronged you. Maybe you need to let them know the impact that they've had on your life. Find that person and have that conversation. Now, don't go beat them up. Don't go yelling, telling them off. You just invite them to a conversation and say, I'd like to talk to you about what happened. Hold them accountable. But understand, no matter what you say or do, it may not change a thing. They may not even remember. They may deny it. But most of the time they apologize and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize what I did hurt you. That wasn't my intention. And if they did, you may find out that you did something to them and they did it to get back at you. And you're just not aware of what you did to them. Often this happens when there's deep-seated anger, deep resentment. But even underneath that, even beyond the conversation, is a feeling of victimhood. When you stop feeling like a victim, meaning the hopelessness, the powerlessness, and the helplessness, and when you realize you have the resources, you discover what you can do about it. You can't control people around you. You can't control the world. You can't control everything. You can't control the outcome of every situation. What you can control is how you respond to circumstance, to people, to situation. You can control your outlook. You can control your thoughts and therefore control your feelings. That you can control. And when you realize you can control some part of your life, that takes you out of victimhood. It gives you a sense of power again. And understand you can't change people, but you can influence people. You can influence people around you. You can influence the world. You cannot control the world, but you can influence the world. And ask yourself what kind of influence you want to have. What is the influence you want to create? And figure out how to do it. Perhaps it's selling. Perhaps it's influencing and persuasion. Perhaps it's standing up for yourself. Perhaps it's self-assertiveness. Perhaps it's learning how to express yourself. Perhaps it's learning how to create agreements. Perhaps it's finding things out before you make a decision so you get clear on what other people's intentions are and where other people are coming from so you can appropriately respond to their words and actions. Don't ever assume things about people. You're just going to get yourself let down. Get agreement. Get things in writing. Get that handshake. Only make agreements with people you know who are trustworthy enough to follow up with them, or at least be in communication with you when they have to break the agreement. The biggest cause of upset are broken agreements, thwarted intentions, and circumstances that are beyond your control, that alter the outcome of the agreement. When a person changes their mind, they should keep you informed. If they don't keep you informed, that's often a letdown. They break the agreement. Intentions are thwarted. They change their mind. Situations change. The circumstance changes. That makes it almost impossible to honor the agreement. People do that all the time when they don't make the rent, when they can't pay their credit card bill, when they come late to an appointment. Those are, call them small breakdowns, smaller disagreements. You don't usually get upset. It's usually when someone robs you, somebody intentionally causes harm to you, damages your personal property intentionally, lies to you, cheats on you. These are often things that cause extreme anger, resentment. Because underneath it, you feel powerless to do anything about it. Because you can't control other people. You can't control their actions. You can't control their behavior. People are who they are. And the only thing you can control is how you respond to them. Learn how to say no. Learn how to recognize untrustworthy characteristics or characteristics that reveal their true state of integrity, what they really value. If they don't value reliability, they don't value their word, they don't value honesty, then don't do business with them. Don't form any agreements with them, and you'll never be let down. Understand your role in it. You made an agreement with someone who is untrustworthy. That's why you got let down. If you got beaten up, well, what was the circumstance? Were you talking to the guy's girlfriend? Were you getting under their skin, irritating them where they beat you up? If you got assaulted, well, they're just in a worse circumstance. They need to do that to somebody to get by. You can always forgive. You can choose to forgive. When you choose to forgive, you get your power back. And when you get your power back, then you feel confident in yourself, in your life, in your decision-making, in the choices that you make, in the actions that you take. It's one way of resolving that anger. The other side is forgiveness. Forgive, but don't forget. Forgive and move on. There's no use drinking the poison that you made for another. You're only going to bring yourself down. And when an anger is driven inwards upon yourself, then you become depressed. You get angry and upset with yourself. And that just drives the nail in deeper. Dealing with the anger when it arises is understanding your position in the situation. It begins with feeling powerless, helpless, because you can't control. That's usually where anger comes from. Accept the fact that you cannot control the other people. You can't control the circumstance. You can only control yourself. That usually gets to the root at the very beginning of anger. Forgiveness, and underneath that sense of helplessness and powerlessness, you'll find a sense of grief. Just let it go. Grieve and let it go. And understand there's nothing you could have done, and that's okay. Just forgive and let go, but don't forget. Anger is not a healthy emotion. Nobody enjoys the presence of an angry, pissed off person. Most people are going to be scared of you when you're really angry. Learn how to deal with anger. Get familiar with it. There are positive aspects of it because often it initiates action. You're so fed up with a circumstance that you do something about it. You make the change and you transform that anger into positive action. Action that creates a positive result. And transform that anger into effective, constructive action. That's how you deal with the anger. If you find yourself being challenged because you get upset easily, you find yourself being angry, people tell you that you look angry, you sound angry, you come across anger, then maybe it's unaware. Maybe it's a blind spot in you. You're not aware of it. But how do you deal with it? I can help you with that. That's what I do because I'm a mindset coach. I'm a transformational mindset coach, and I help my clients with this. Because often people hold resentments they're not even knowing. They lash out at people and don't know why. It's because they carry these resentments and don't realize that they're carrying it around. And it's just emotional baggage. You're dragging this baggage around with you all day long, every day, for years on end. You will find life so much more uplifting when you let all of the resentment go, when you grieve and you forgive and you get your power back, because you understand you can't control other people. You can only control yourself. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. My website will be in the description, so you can contact me through my website. I'm here to help you experience abundance, freedom, and fulfillment by finding your authentic self so you can experience the life you were meant to live. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening.